Hi, this is Savina. Welcome to Becoming a Mum, Pregnancy and Beyond. In today's episode, I'll be talking through some of the options that are available to you and are definitely worth exploring if you've been told you can't conceive but really want that new addition to your family. According to the NHS, around 1 in 7 couples may have difficulty conceiving. That's 14% of couples. This episode is very close to my husband and I. As you're aware, it took us around a year to conceive. During this process, a friend of mine had told me if you haven't been able to conceive for around a year, you can book an appointment with your GP and take some tests to find out if you and/or your partner can get pregnant. My husband and I went and took these tests. I had some blood and urine tests done to measure various hormone levels, and my husband took some sperm tests to measure his sperm count and the quality of his sperm. One of us received good news that everything was normal, but the other was told there were some irregularities with some of the test results and were called back to the hospital to repeat some of these tests. These were rebooked, but as you can imagine, we went through a tough time accepting this irregularity as we are both generally healthy individuals with no major health conditions and had both been looking forward to becoming parents for quite some time. As a couple, we've always tried our best to be supportive towards each other. So whilst waiting 2 weeks for the next medical appointment, we tried our best to remain positive and started thinking of some alternative options available to us as we both wanted a family of our own. The most obvious option that came to mind was IVF, in vitro fertilization. This procedure involves taking a healthy sperm from your partner or a sperm donor and implanting it into a woman's ovaries. We had discussed this as an alternative a while back in case we were in this situation, but we didn't look into it in detail as we thought we'll cross this bridge if it comes. IVF is a costly treatment, so if, like us, you're in your 30s, I would recommend looking into this and saving for it early, especially if you want to start a family of your own. If you meet certain criteria, you are entitled to one free IVF treatment on the NHS. Check the NHS website for more details. That same week, I found a free webinar on what the procedure for IVF was, the cost, the success rate, and how this was going to affect my body and mind, as it's worth knowing IVF does not have a 100% success rate. If you're in this same situation, I would recommend having a look online for such a webinar so you can better understand this option. Other alternatives include surrogacy, adoption, fostering, freezing your eggs, or sperm donation. I'll go through each option briefly and would recommend for anyone experiencing difficulties in conceiving to explore these further. Firstly, surrogacy. If you've watched Friends, Phoebe agrees to be a surrogate for her brother Frank Jr. and his wife. More recently, Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas have used this method to conceive their baby girl. Surrogacy is where an embryo made up of both your egg and your partner's sperm, which is implanted into another female known as your surrogate, who will carry your child for the course of the pregnancy. Once the baby is born, the surrogate will give the baby to your partner and you. You also have the option to use donated sperm or egg, which can be implanted into your surrogate. Similar to IVF, surrogacy can be a costly method of conceiving, So I would suggest to start saving early in case you want or need to use this method of conceiving. Secondly, adoption. This is when you become the legal parents of a child and raise the child as your own. Thirdly, fostering. This is when you temporarily take care of a child without being the child's legal parents. I feel both these options, adopting and fostering, are wonderful opportunities to give your love to a child as their parents. So if you can't conceive, do consider these options, as I'm sure this new addition to your family will bring you endless joy. You also have the option to freeze your eggs. If you're in your younger years or don't currently want children but may want them later in life, you can pay to freeze your eggs. Nowadays, when a lot of people are settling down later in life, this is definitely an option to consider. And finally, you have the option to get sperm donated to you from a sperm bank, which is where you pay to use another man's sperm, which is implanted into a woman's ovaries. Whilst waiting 2 weeks for our retests, to our surprise, my husband and I found out we're pregnant. So a word of advice is not to jump to conclusions, even if your GP tells you otherwise, unless you have taken all your tests and have evidence to confirm you and or your partner cannot conceive. My top tip for this week's episode is to seriously consider all your options and talk these through with your partner. And remember, you do have alternative choices. So if you really want that family of yours to expand, explore all the available options. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please share and hit that subscribe button to get more episodes every Monday. Thanks. See you next time.